What happened at Iron Ridge Ranch that morning was witnessed by some of the most dangerous men in the country. A combat dog bred for black operations had turned feral. 3 trainers down in 3 hours. Professional handlers couldn't get near him. The order was signed. By 6 that evening, the most lethal K9 in Delta Force history would be put down. But then a man in a red plaid shirt walked through the dust, and everything those military contractors thought they knew shattered. If this story pulled you in, hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. I've got another unforgettable story dropping tomorrow. Jump into the comments and tell me where you're watching from. All right, let's get back into it. 6 in the morning, pine and fear in the air. A bolt scraped back on the K9 enclosure. Through chain link, men watched. Rancher clothes, soldier posture, contractors who understood liability. Inside was Coda, Belgian Malinois, German Shepherd, combat harness, eyes like crosshairs. Packing since dawn. Then boots on gravel. A blond man approached. Red plaid, jeans, brown bag, looked like a drifter. But his eyes locked on the dog, and the air went cold. Coda stopped. First time in 72 hours, the most dangerous animal on the property went still. The man planted his feet, didn't blink. What was happening between them wasn't training. It was recognition. The dummy didn't stand a chance. It hung from chains in the center of the enclosure, wrapped in protective padding. Bite sleeve, chest guard. Equipment handlers used to test aggression in working dogs. Coda hit it like a missile. The impact sent chains swinging wild. Metal screamed. The dummy twisted, and Coda's jaws locked onto the padded arm with force that made the watching men flinch. Not because they hadn't seen it before, because they'd never seen it like this. No command given, no signal, no handler in the pen. Just rage and muscle, and something that looked too much like hunting. Coda shook his head once, twice. The padding ripped. Stuffing exploded into the morning air. He dropped low, circled, then lunged again, this time for the throat. The dummy swung back hard enough to rattle the fence posts. One of the contractors crossed his arms tighter. Another looked away. Silas didn't move. He stood at the fence with a clipboard, eyes cold behind sunglasses that reflected nothing but violence. He'd built this facility from nothing, trained dogs for operations that never made the news. Coda had been his best work. Now he was watching that weapon destroy itself. The dog's breathing was ragged. He circled the dummy again, head low, ears pinned back, waiting for it to fight back, waiting for something that would never come. Silas clicked his pen. The sound was small, quiet, but in the silence of Iron Ridge, it felt like a gunshot. He wrote 3 words on the form, neat handwriting, final. Euthanasia approved, 1800 hours. 6 in the evening, 12 hours from now, time to prep sedatives, make calls, handle paperwork. The dog had given them 3 good years, more than most assets lasted. Behind him, one of the younger contractors shifted, uncomfortable. He'd worked with Coda during basic training, before the deployment, before Yemen. Before everything went black. Silas folded the paper and slid it into his jacket pocket. Inside the pen, Coda finally stopped. He stood over the destroyed dummy, sides heaving, foam at the corners of his mouth. His eyes scanned the fence line, searching, always searching. For something that wasn't there. For someone who'd been erased. Silas turned away and checked his watch. The other men followed, boots on gravel, low voices discussing logistics, disposal, burial, whether to contact the original unit. None of them saw the way Coda's ears suddenly pricked forward. None of them heard the distant sound of an engine on the access road. But the dog did. And for the first time since dawn, he stopped looking at the fence. He looked past it. The truck that pulled up wasn't what anyone expected. Old Ford, primer gray, dust caked thick. It rattled to a stop near the fence, engine ticking. The door opened. Caleb Thorne stepped out like he had all the time in the world. Red plaid shirt open at the collar, jeans that had seen better days. Brown bag slung over one shoulder, blonde hair loose and wavy in the sun. One of the contractors let out a low whistle. Another smirked. "Lost cowboy?" The voice belonged to a man named Garrett. He leaned against the fence rail, arms crossed. "Nearest Walmart's about 40 miles back." A few others chuckled, hard men with soft humor. Caleb didn't respond. His eyes moved past the fence line, straight to the enclosure where Coda stood motionless. The dog's head came up slow. "Hey," Garrett stepped into Caleb's line of sight. "This is private property, military contract work. You can't just—" "I'm here about the dog." Caleb's voice was quiet, flat, the kind of calm that made people nervous. Garrett blinked. "What dog?" "The one you're killing at 6. The laughter stopped. Silas appeared from the main building, clipboard under one arm. He moved like a man who'd spent 20 years making decisions other people had to live with. His sunglasses reflected Caleb's face. "Who told you about that?" Silas asked. "Nobody." Caleb looked away from the dog, met Silas's eyes through the dark lenses. "Didn't need to be told." "Then you need to turn around and leave." "Not happening." The air between them went tight, sharp. The other contractors shifted, hands dropping to their sides. Not threatening, not yet, but ready. Silas studied the stranger. The casual clothes, the traveled dust. The bag that looked like it held everything a man owned. Nothing about him screamed military. But something in the way he stood. Feet planted, weight balanced, shoulders loose but ready. And those eyes, cold blue, tracking everything. "You former handler?" Silas asked. "Something like that." "That dog's dangerous. Bit 3 people in 12 hours. He's a liability." "He's not dangerous." Caleb's voice didn't rise. "He's waiting." "For what?" Caleb didn't answer. He turned back toward the enclosure. Inside the pen, Coda had moved to the fence. Close as he could get. His body was still. No packing, no circling. Just standing there, staring through the chain link like he was looking at a ghost. The silence stretched. One of the younger contractors muttered something. Uncomfortable, like watching something he wasn't supposed to see. Because this wasn't recognition. This was reunion. And every man standing there could feel it. Caleb walked toward the enclosure gate like he was walking into church. No hesitation, just steady footsteps while every contractor at Iron Ridge stopped to watch. Garrett moved to block him. "You can't go in there without gear." "Move." "That dog will tear you apart. We've got bite suits." "Move." The word was soft, final. Garrett stepped aside. Silas appeared at the fence. "This is insane. You're signing your own death certificate." Caleb didn't answer. He reached for the gate latch. "We're not liable if he kills you." "Good." The latch clicked. The gate swung open. Inside, Coda's entire body went rigid. Caleb stepped through. 20 feet of open dirt between him and the dog. No armor, no whip, just a man in a red plaid shirt standing in the kill zone. The contractors pressed against the fence, silent. Coda's lips pulled back. A low growl rumbled from deep in his chest. Not a warning, a promise. Caleb didn't move, arms loose, eyes locked on the dog. "Easy," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Coda lunged. 100 pounds of muscle launched across the dirt, jaws open, teeth bared, the kind of attack that could snap bone. The men at the fence shouted. But Caleb stood his ground. 3 feet, 2 feet. Caleb's lips moved. One word. Ancient syllables that hadn't been spoken in 3 years. A code word in a dead language. Nakties. The effect was instant. Coda hit the dirt so hard dust exploded around him. Body flat, head down, ears pinned back. The growl died and became something else. A whimper. High and broken. The sound of something lost that didn't believe it could be found. The silence was absolute. Caleb dropped to one knee. Slow, careful. His hand reached out, palm up, stopping inches from Coda's muzzle. The dog's eyes were fixed on him, wide, trembling. Yeah, Caleb whispered. I know I'm here now. Coda's body shook. Not aggression, something deeper. He crawled forward on his belly until his head pressed against Caleb's palm. And then the most dangerous dog at Iron Ridge did something no one had seen in 72 hours. He closed his eyes. Behind the fence, Garrett let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Another contractor took off his hat. Silas stood frozen. The clipboard slipped from his hand. Because what they were watching wasn't training. It was trust. And in his mind, a cold certainty settled. This stranger wasn't just a former handler. He was the handler. The one the file said didn't exist anymore. The ranch office smelled like old coffee and leather. Silas closed the door, the latch clicked. He moved to the desk and pulled out a file. Thin, worn. Caleb stood in the center of the room. Didn't sit. Just stood there, hands loose, eyes tracking. You want to tell me who you are? Silas asked. You already know. Humor me. Caleb Thorne. Silas went still. Then he opened the file. His jaw tightened. Caleb Thorne died 3 years ago. Yemen operation. Handler KIA, body never recovered. Reports lie. Delta doesn't make mistakes like that. Delta made exactly that mistake. Silas looked up, eyes hard behind his sunglasses. You've been dead for 3 years and nobody noticed. I was burned, erased. The mission went sideways and someone needed a body to blame. Caleb's voice stayed level. Coder and I were tracking a HVT in Sana'a. Intel was bad. Set up. Half my team gone. Kill order on my head. From who? People who didn't want witnesses. Silas studied him, looking for cracks. So you went underground. Had to. And the dog. They extracted him without me, told him I was dead, sent him back into rotation. He's been unstable ever since. Wouldn't you be? The question hung heavy. Silas closed the file. You're asking me to believe Delta faked your death, that this dog has been tearing through handlers for 3 years because he's looking for a ghost. Check the dates. Yemen went dark August 15th, 3 years ago. Same day Coda stopped taking commands. Same day I stopped existing. Silas leaned back, leather creaking. Why come back now? Why risk exposure for a dog? He's not just a dog. Then what is he? Something in Caleb's eyes shifted, raw. He's the only thing that didn't leave me behind. The words landed quiet, final. Silas took off his sunglasses. His eyes were tired. The euthanasia order. Someone higher up wants that dog dead. Orders came through encrypted channels. No names. Caleb went very still. They know he's here. Seems like it. Outside, Coda lay quiet in the enclosure, waiting. How long do I have? Till 6, maybe less if they're watching. Then we don't have time. Silas stood, walked to the window, arms crossed. They'll come for you too, the second they realize you're alive. Let them. You'll bring a war to my door. War's already here. Caleb moved beside him. Question is whether you're going to help me fight it or get out of the way. Silas was quiet. Then he reached for his radio. I'm going to regret this, he muttered. The water in the basin turned brown with dirt and old blood. Caleb sat on the floor with Coda between his knees, working a brush through the dog's matted coat. Slow, methodical, the routine they'd done 100 times before Yemen. Coda's eyes were half closed. His breathing had settled, the tension unraveling. Easy, Caleb murmured. We're okay now. The dog's ear twitched, not quite believing it. Caleb's fingers traced along Coda's ribs, checking for injuries, old scars, places where handlers had tried shock collars and muzzles. Then his fingers found something that didn't belong. A ridge under the skin, small, hard, just below Coda's left shoulder blade. Caleb went still. Too smooth to be scar tissue, too precise. A microchip. Not the standard ID chip, this was deeper, hidden. Caleb pulled out a folding knife. The blade caught the light. Coda's eyes opened, alert. "Stay," Caleb said quietly. The dog didn't move. One quick cut. Clean. Coda flinched but held still. Blood welled. Caleb pressed his thumb against the wound and felt the chip shift. He worked it free, dropped it into his palm. Black, smaller than a grain of rice. Encrypted data storage. The kind Delta, used for mission recordings. Caleb stared at it. This was what they wanted, not the dog. The evidence. Yemen hadn't just been a bad mission. It had been recorded. Every lie, every betrayal, every order that shouldn't have been given. Someone had hidden the proof inside Coda before extraction, knowing the dog would eventually make his way back to the only handler he trusted. Caleb closed his fist around the chip. Behind him, the kennel door opened. Silas stepped in, took one look at the blood on Caleb's hands. "What did you find?" Caleb opened his palm. Silas's face went pale. "Jesus Christ, they've been trying to kill him for this." "Not trying." Caleb's voice was flat. "They will kill him, soon as they confirm I'm here. They'll burn this whole ranch if they have to." "How long?" "Hours, maybe less." Silas pulled out his phone. "I can get you transport, back roads." "No." "What?" "Running's done." Caleb stood. The chip disappeared into his pocket. "I've been running for 3 years. Coda's been waiting for 3 years. We're not running anymore." "Then what are you going to do?" Caleb looked down at the dog. Coda was on his feet, alert, ready. "We're going to finish what we started in Yemen," Caleb said. "And when they come for us, we'll be ready." Outside, the sun had crossed its peak. Afternoon shadows stretched long. Time was running out. But for the first time in 3 years, Caleb Thorne wasn't alone. And neither was Coda. The bird stopped singing first. Caleb's head came up. He was at the fence line, watching Coda work through basic commands. The dog had remembered everything. But now Caleb wasn't watching the dog. He was listening to the silence. Coda felt it too, ears forward, body rigid, every muscle locked. "What is it?" Garrett was nearby, leaning against a post. Caleb didn't answer. His eyes swept the horizon, past the training yard, out to where the access road cut through scrubland. Dust rising in the distance, multiple vehicles, moving fast. "How many ways in?" Caleb asked, too calm. Garrett straightened. "What?" "To the ranch. How many access points?" "Main road, service gate on the east. Why?" Garrett saw the dust. His face went pale. Caleb was already moving. He crossed the yard in long strides, Coda at his side. Inside the building, Silas looked up from his desk. "We've got company," Caleb said. Silas stood. "How long?" 5 minutes, maybe less." "How many?" 3 vehicles, black SUVs, standard tactical formation. Silas moved to the window. Binoculars appeared. He scanned the horizon, jaw tight. "Cleanup crew." Garrett burst through the door. "Boss, movement on the east perimeter too. 2 more vehicles." "They're boxing us in," Caleb said. Silas lowered the binoculars. "How did they find you this fast?" "They've been watching, waiting for me to show." Caleb's voice stayed level. "Question is what you're going to do about it." "My contractors aren't military. They know how to shoot. Most of them." "Then arm them." Silas grabbed his radio. "All personnel, code red, secure the armory, defensive positions. This is not a drill. Hostile inbound, 5 minutes." The radio crackled, then the sound of men moving. Caleb walked to the weapons locker. Silas unlocked it. Rifles, sidearms, ammunition. Caleb took a rifle, checked the action, loaded it smooth and practiced. "You're bringing a war to Iron Ridge," Silas said. "War was already here." Caleb slammed a magazine home. "I'm just the one who stopped running." Outside, engines grew louder. Coda stood at the door, not packing, just waiting, the way he'd been trained before an operation. This wasn't training anymore. This was the mission they'd been running from for 3 years. And it had finally caught up. Through the window, the first black SUV crested the hill. Then the second. Then the third. They didn't slow down. They came like executioners. Silent. Professional. Lethal. Caleb chambered around. Positions, Silas said into the radio. Hold fire until my command. The SUVs rolled closer. Dust and death in their wake. And standing in the doorway, Caleb Thorne smiled. Cold. Dangerous. Like a ghost finally ready to haunt the living. The SUVs stopped 50 yards out. Engines cut, doors opened. Men in tactical gear stepped out, black on black, no markings. Caleb counted 8. They moved like professionals, spread out, 6 advanced in pairs. They're not here to talk, Silas muttered. Never were. The lead operative made a hand signal. The others moved forward, coordinated. Caleb looked down at Coda. The dog was pressed against his leg, still, focused, waiting. You remember the tall grass drill. Coda's ear twitched, once. The operatives were 30 yards out, moving through scrubland, tall grass, perfect for an ambush. Caleb's hand found Coda's harness release. Nactes, he whispered, then sharper. Medgioti. Hunt. The harness came off. Coda's body went low, then he moved. Silent as smoke, fast as violence. He disappeared into the tall grass. The lead operative stopped. Hand up, the others froze. They'd felt something. Then Coda hit the first man from behind. No warning, no growl, just 100 pounds of trained aggression. The man's weapon clattered. He tried to yell. The sound cut off. The others spun, weapons up. But Coda was already gone. Moving through the grass like a shadow, using terrain, wind, everything he'd been taught. The second man went down 10 seconds later. Different angle. By the time his partner turned, Coda had melted back. Jesus, Garrett breathed. I've never seen anything like that. You're not supposed to, Caleb said. That's the point. The remaining operatives backed into tight formation, weapons out. But discipline didn't matter when hunting ghosts. Coda took the third man from the side. Fast, brutal. The others opened fire. Bullets tore through grass, wild. None hit. Because Coda wasn't where they were shooting. That's what Delta Force training did. Turned a dog into a surgical instrument. A tactical asset that could adapt. Kill. The fourth man tried to run. Made it 5 steps. The remaining 4 broke, falling back toward the SUVs, firing blind. Discipline gone, just men running from something they couldn't see. Couldn't fight. Couldn't stop. Caleb watched through the scope, cold, detached. This was what they'd created, what they'd trained, what they'd tried to destroy when it became inconvenient. And now it was coming for them. In the tall grass, Coda moved like death itself. Silent. Relentless. Unstoppable. And somewhere in the chaos, Caleb Thorne smiled. Because the wild K9 they'd been so afraid of. He'd never been wild at all. He'd just been waiting for the right target. The barn door slammed shut behind him. Caleb backed into shadows, rifle up. 1 door, 3 windows too high, hay bales, farm equipment. A trap. Outside, footsteps on gravel, slow, deliberate. This one was different. Thorne, the voice carried through wooden slats. Calm, you're cornered, it's over. Caleb didn't answer. He moved deeper. Found cover behind a tractor, checked his magazine. 3 rounds. Not enough. The door creaked open. Light spilled across dirt. A silhouette stepped through. Tall, lean. The lead assassin. I respect what you did out there, the man said, weapons sweeping. Taking on a cleanup crew with a dog and ranch hands. Caleb's finger on the trigger. But it ends here. They won't stop until that chip is recovered and you're in the ground. Then they'll be disappointed. The assassin turned, fired twice. Bullets punched through metal. Caleb had already moved. He came around hay bales, fired once. The assassin dove, returned fire, wood splintered. Caleb's rifle clicked empty. The assassin heard it, smiled, started to rise. The side window shattered. Coda came through like a missile, glass exploding. He hit the ground running. The assassin spun, got his weapon halfway up. Not fast enough. Caleb whistled, sharp, 2 notes. The signal from Kandahar, from Mosul, where trust was everything. Coda didn't attack. He went low, slid under the assassin's aim, between his legs. The move caught the man off balance. 1 second of vulnerability. Caleb didn't need more. He crossed the distance, drove his shoulder into the assassin's chest. Both men down, the weapon skittered away. They hit dirt hard. The assassin was trained, got an elbow up, caught Caleb in the jaw. Stars. But Coda was there. Jaws locked on the assassin's weapon arm, dragging it back, pinning it. Caleb drove his fist into the man's throat. Once, twice. The fight went out of him. Silence settled, broken only by heavy breathing. Caleb rolled off, lay staring at rafters. Coda appeared above him, panting, blood on his muzzle, not his own. "Good boy," Caleb whispered. Outside, the sun dropped. The SUVs sat empty, the cleanup crew scattered. Failed. Caleb sat up, his body ached, but they were alive. Both of them. For 3 years he'd been running. For 3 years Coda had been waiting. And in one afternoon, they'd proven what everyone had forgot. They were never meant to work alone. They were built to be unstoppable together. Caleb reached out. Coda pressed his head into his palm. "We're not done yet," he said quietly, "but we're getting there." Through the barn door, Silas approached, radio in hand. The battle was over. But the war was just beginning. The sun bled orange across Iron Ridge as the contractors gathered. 8 men in a loose circle, dusty, bruised. The cleanup crew's vehicles sat abandoned. Nobody was calling authorities. Silas stood at the center, clipboard in hand, the euthanasia order clipped to it. He looked at Caleb, then at Coda sitting at Caleb's feet, calm. "We need to talk about what happens next," Silas said. Garrett stepped forward, shirt torn, blood on his knuckles. "Boss, we all saw what happened. Those men came to kill, military-grade equipment." "I know what I saw." "Then you know we can't report this." Another contractor spoke, older, gray beard. "The second we make calls, more teams show up. We're already compromised." "Are we?" Garrett looked around. "Far as I can tell, armed trespassers got dealt with. Self-defense. We don't know who they were, and we don't know anything about a ghost from Delta Force." Silence settled. Caleb stood watching them decide his fate. Silas looked down at the clipboard, at the paper that sentenced the dog to death. "The dog's dangerous," he said. "The dog saved our lives," Garrett said. "I watched him take down 4 armed operatives. That's not dangerous. That's tactical precision. He's unstable." He was waiting. The gray-bearded contractor stepped closer. 3 years tearing through handlers because none were the right one. He's not broken. He was loyal. Silas was quiet. The sun dropped lower. Then he tore the paper off the clipboard. The sound was loud, final. He held it up, the euthanasia order. And then he ripped it in half. Then again. He let the pieces fall to the dirt. "Dog's not dangerous," Silas said. "Report filed in error. Asset successfully reconditioned. Case closed." Garrett let out a breath. Others nodded. Caleb's shoulders relaxed. Silas looked at him. "You understand what this means. They'll send more." "I know. You can't stay here." "Wasn't planning to." "Where will you go?" Caleb's hand dropped to Coda's head. The dog leaned into his palm. "Somewhere they're not looking," Caleb said. "Somewhere we can disappear. You've been disappearing for 3 years. This time I won't be alone." Silas extended his hand. "Good luck, Thorn." Caleb shook it. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just make sure that chip gets somewhere it can do some good." "It will." The sun touched the horizon. Caleb walked toward his truck, Coda at his side. The contractors watched. silent witnesses to something that officially never happened. The old Ford's engine coughed to life. And as the last light faded, Caleb, Thorne, and Coda drove into the gathering dark. Not running anymore. Just moving forward. Together. The highway stretched empty under a sky full of stars. Caleb drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on Coda's head. The dog sat in the passenger seat, alert but calm. They'd been driving for 2 hours. No destination, just distance between them and Iron Ridge. The microchip sat in Caleb's jacket pocket, small, but worth enough blood to fill a canyon. He'd figure out what to do with it, find someone who could decrypt it, expose the lies. But not tonight. Tonight was about something else. Caleb pulled off the highway onto a dirt road, followed it until the lights from town were just aglow. Then he stopped, killed the engine. Silence settled. Just whined through dry grass, the distant call of a night bird. Caleb stepped into the dark, Coda followed. They walked into the scrubland. No path, just movement. After a while, Caleb stopped, sat down in the dirt. Coda settled beside him. 3 years, Caleb said quietly. 3 years I thought you'd forgotten me. Coda's ear twitched. They told me you'd moved on, got a new handler. Caleb's voice was rough. I believed them, thought it was easier. The dog pressed his head against Caleb's leg. But you didn't forget, did you? Caleb's hand found Coda's neck. You waited, even when it hurt. The stars wheeled overhead, infinite. I'm sorry, Caleb whispered, for leaving, for not fighting harder to get back to you. Coda made a sound, low, something deeper than a whine. Understanding. Forgiveness. We're ghosts now, Caleb said. Both of us, we can't go back, can't stop running. He looked down at the dog, at those dark eyes that had seen too much but somehow still trusted. But at least we're ghosts together. Coda's tail moved, once, twice. Agreement. Caleb stood, brushed the dirt from his jeans. Come on, long road ahead. They walked back to the truck, side by side, handler and K9. The engine turned over, headlights cut through dark. And as they pulled back onto the highway, Caleb felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Not peace, not safety, but wholeness. The part of him that had been missing since Yemen, since they'd torn Coda away and told him his handler was dead. It was back. The bond wasn't just restored. It was unbreakable. Behind them, Iron Ridge faded into memory. Ahead, the road stretched endless. But for the first time since everything fell apart, Caleb Thorne wasn't afraid of what waited in the dark. Because whatever came next, they'd face it the way they always should have. Together. Thanks for staying with this story right till the final moment. You're the reason these stories come alive. If you're ready for another powerful journey, just tap the next video on your screen. And before you go, leave a quick comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I'm excited to see your thoughts and connect with you down there.